This wedding was an assignment for my Religion 2 class in Catholic.
This one's wife. Silence is betrayal. Harry is a flawed individual. He has emotional empathy. He had his place in the royal family. Yes, he had grumbles like many people do, gripes about family, gripes about the things that he had to do. But he had a lot of goodwill from the British public. He was seen as a playboy prince, and he received a lot of sympathy because of the circumstances surrounding the loss of his mother. He then threw all of that away. And he did so because he followed the mantra espoused by his wife. And now he is viewed as an unlikable individual on a par with the poisonous spider that came along and corrupted him. She seized hold of those existing traits and amplified them. She got hold of his selfishness and magnified it. She got hold of his resentment and cultivated it, because it suited her purposes to do so, to enable him to be all the more controllable. This one's wife was a hitherto unheard of D-list actress. She ran a blog and had ideas above her station. And somehow, she managed to inveigle her way into the world of Prince Harry, who was easily bowled over by false compassion for his circumstances and being given lashings of spicy poontang. "She'll let you do anything," he remarked. Thus, with his head turned and subjected to the manipulations of a narcissist, he fell into her trap, and thereafter, in order to control him all the more, she needed to turn him against his family, which she succeeded in doing. She managed to turn him against his own supporters, that he's lost his friends, that the public are no longer behind him. And it has resulted in him suffering repeated criticisms as much as she has, that their joint enterprise, their awful shared fantasy, cultivated by this one's wife, has resulted in repeated criticisms from the world at large. This is something that has been expanded upon, as Daniela Elsa writes for news.com.au. She states, "If there is one thing that Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, has well and truly mastered in the last 4 years, it is speaking. On broadcast TV, on Netflix, in interviews and in print, and to James Corden, arsehole, Oprah Winfrey, ITV's Tom Bradby, Anderson Cooper, Good Morning America's Michael Strahan, Today's Hoda Gope, his ghostwriter J.A. Moringa, renowned trauma specialist Dr. Gabor Mate, and many more. The Duke of Sussex is a man known, renowned, for his willingness to use his voice to call out the wrongs that have been done to he and wife, this one's wife, victim mentality, nullification of threat to control, indirectly through him by this one's wife. As he put it, while on the spare publicity trail speaking to Cooper about the royal family's relationship with the British media, silence is betrayal. Strong words, powerful words. But today, are they believable words? African Parks, a charity that the Duke served as president for since 2017, before being promoted to the board last year, is now facing a second round of horrific allegations of armed employees torturing indigenous peoples. And Harry, he has been silent. Not even a 3-line statement to the press saying he found the fresh claims highly concerning if proven to be true. Over the weekend, the details from a new book, Entrepreneurs in the Wild by Oliver Van Beeman, were published by the Times' Kate Mancy, see parts passim, alleging that the professional guards employed by the African Parks had beaten and tortured local communities in Zambia, including using a torture method called the swing. This is not a case of an isolated bad apple, Entrepreneurs, Mancy reports, includes dozens of incidents of alleged abuse from interviews conducted with victims and those who claim to have perpetrated the abuse, including existing and former African Parks staff. African Parks has said that Van Beeman is biased and that Entrepreneurs is deeply flawed, according to the Times. And Harry? What has he said of this fresh round of disturbing claims? The Duke of Sussex was approached for comment, per the Times. These entrepreneurs' allegations come after, in January this year, the Daily Mail reported that African Park guards in the Democratic Republic of the Congo have raped, tortured and beaten the indigenous Baka people, and that at least one victim had died of their injuries. Those Congo claims, Harry was reportedly told about them 11 months ago. Here's how things played out according to the Mail. In May last year, the human rights organisation Survival International says it wrote to the Duke about atrocities they say were committed by AP guards towards the Baka people. Also sent to Harry was a video message from a Baka man named Iyaya, in which he said, "Now, there is only torture in the forest." Harry responded to Survival's letter and video within 2 weeks, including to an earlier Times report sending an initially sympathetic letter promising to escalate the concerns to the most senior ranks of the organisation. AP's chief executive, Peter Fernhead, was a guest at the Sussexes' wedding. When the Duke became aware of these serious allegations, he immediately escalated them to the CEO and chairman of the Board of African Parks, the appropriate people to handle next steps, his spokesman later said. That was in May. In November last year, Harry was elevated to AP's board. Fiore Longo, campaigns director of Survival International, subsequently said the human rights group had been very disappointed to hear nothing from Harry after that May exchange. In January, the Mail and Survival International went public with their allegations about AP guards' alleged violent abuse of the Baka people. Mother of two, Ella Ene, told the Mail that she had been raped by an AP guard while holding her 1-month-old son. "I was holding my baby while being raped and trying to protect him. My first reaction had been to protect my baby. It was very violent." Father of 7, Justin Zoa, recounted to the British paper how he went into the forest in search of honey when AP guards arrested and handcuffed him in front of his wife and children. Later, Zoa says the guards lit candles, dripping the wax onto my back, before taking off their belts and whipping me on the same part of my back. I was very scared. I thought I would die, and seeing my wife and children crying made it even more painful. Medard Macento, from the village of Biesi, told the Mail that both he and his wife had been beaten hard by AP guards who were slapping and punching us. AP says that after being made aware of the claims, they had immediately launched an investigation through an external law firm. How are we to understand these two things? Harry sat in front of 60 Minutes' Cooper last year, hauling his own family over the coals for their failures, all done for the benefit of TV cameras and a Geat book-buying public, arguing that not speaking out, that staying zipped-lipped was a betrayal. And now, with AP facing a second round of allegations of torture, the Duke has yet to comment. What was that about silence equating to betrayal? Also imagine for a second that this exact same situation was playing out. Allegations of rape and torture, but concerning a charity closely associated with Prince William, or with Kate, the Princess of Wales, especially if it turned out that the Waleses had known for 6 months and had even, with these allegations hanging overhead, then accepted more senior positions within the charities. The Prince and Princess would be pilloried, and rightly so. The hue and cry would be so loud, someone would have to outfit the beefeaters with earmuffs. Harry has repeatedly popped up to tell us all how important helping others is to him, such as 2021's Service is Universal, as penned by his wife, and 2023's My Life is Charity, always has been, always will be. So, where is that staunch commitment to using his voice to help others when it comes to Ella Ene, raped while holding her newborn, when it comes to Justin Zoa and his children? I'm sure there are serious legal complications to the allegations against AP that might restrict what Harry could potentially say publicly about these torture and rape claims, but is saying nothing acceptable? Harry talks about social justice. He has spoken out about racism in the past. Survival International's Longo told the Times earlier this year, when you give your name to an organisation, you are part of that organisation. You have a duty to act if there are human rights abuses going on. This silence and hypocrisy on the part of Harry is no surprise. It is the company that he keeps that has tainted him in this way. That once upon a time he would be moved to take action. But now, led by his wife, influenced by his wife, affected by his wife, he engages in similar behaviours to her. Some people talk about this being narcissistic fleas. It isn't. You don't become a narcissist because you're hanging around with a narcissist. You don't become a narcissist because a narcissist is abusing you. What happens is that you're influenced by a narcissist so that your own emotional empathy becomes eroded, so that you can behave in a similar way. And this is the case with Harry. Beholden to his wife, his handler, controlled by her, his own strong narcissistic traits ready to spill forth once his emotional empathy erodes. The fact is that he's directed and led by her and mimics her and behaves in a way that is similar to her, because to do so to the contrary would threaten her control and would result in more devaluing behaviour being sent in his direction. Accordingly, he has to do what she says, and his emotional empathy for those affected by this situation with African parks has been eroded as a consequence of the treatment that he has received from his wife. I see this regularly with individuals that I consult with, many of them worrying, am I a narcissist? Have I become a narcissist? That they recognise that they have behaved in a way which is wrong, and it is as a consequence of the impact of the hold that the narcissist has upon them and the abuse that they have received that reduces their emotional empathy. With Harry, his hypocrisy is writ large as a consequence of his continuing silence, yet he labels silence by others as betrayal. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.